next proposition that we want to talk about, if you all remember, it was only a couple months ago that we had a whole episode about minimum wage laws in California. And if you think that was the end of it, if you think that was what they got and everyone was all excited, think again, because California Proposition 32 is looking to set the new minimum wage in California to $18 per hour. So a yes vote on Prop 32 supports increasing the state minimum wage to $18 per hour by 2026. So you got 2 years to get it up there.
Well,
and
is it 16 right now?
I think it's 16 right now, and then
it's supposed to at the first of the year go up to 16.50. So what they're
it's going to increase with inflation. Is what they're claiming.
But inflation's way down, as they're telling us. So
right, inflation's way down because it's not as high as it was the previous month. No vote opposes this ballot initiative, thereby maintaining the existing law, which was designed to increase the minimum wage to $15 per hour. Let's see. The ballot initiative would increase the state minimum wage to $18 an hour over several years. Like SB 3, the ballot initiative would increase the minimum wage at different speeds depending on whether an employer has 26 or more workers or 25 or less workers. For employers with 26 or more workers, the minimum wage would reach $18 on January 1st, 2025. For employers with 25 or less workers, the minimum wage would reach $18 on January 1st, 2026. So who supports it? Yes, on California Living Wage Act. So we're now getting into this whole living wage versus minimum wage. From 1996 to 2022, there were 28 minimum wage increase measures on the ballot. Voters approved 92.86% of them. That's across the country. That's not necessarily California. Fiscal impact, which I thought was really interesting. So usually when they do a proposition, the legislative analyst office will come out and say, like, here's our fiscal report or what we believe will happen. So that way you have an idea. Is it going to increase taxes? Is it going to increase spending, deficit, blah, blah, blah. It says unclear change in annual state and local tax revenues, likely between a loss of a couple $1 billion and a gain of a few $100 million. Increase in annual state and local government costs, likely between $500 million and a few $1 billion. So not good on that front. Lose revenue and everything else will be more expensive, which would be a shocker. Who do you think?
The cost of living goes up, and then that whole minimum wage is no longer a living wage, even though minimum wage was never supposed to be a living wage. And it's this fun little just circle of life.
They keep conflating living wage with minimum wage. So who do you think is the biggest supporter of this proposition?
The unions.
And specifically, who would that be?
Oh, I'm assuming we're talking about Lorena Gonzalez still.
Yep, Lorena Gonzalez Fletcher is the biggest supporter of this. Let's see. In support, they've raised $10.9 million. Opposition's only $10,000.
Why don't they just walk into places that pay minimum wage and start handing them, like, instead of this?
You could do a lot with $10 million, that's for sure.
Every time that we talk about how much money they raised for these things, I'm like, but that could have paid for what you're asking anyway.
Right. It could have, yeah. I mean, you're spending $10 million on this. Well, $10 million goes a long way for a lot of people working. So maybe, I don't know, create a fund or something that helps people. I'm trying to see who, there was a whole bunch of people who specifically top donors. Wow. Okay. Joseph and Sandberg, probably should have looked this up before. Joseph and Sandberg, he donated $10 million out of the $10.9 million. So whoever Joseph and Sandberg is, he really wants people to get $18 minimum wage. Okay. So now there is an article in East Bay Times regarding this, what's going on. Californians will vote on $18 minimum wage. Workers already want $25 and more. So 18 is not enough, is what they're saying. Unions in California have taken a different approach. They've won industry-specific wage floors for fast food, healthcare, and in some cities, Hotels that are well above the statewide minimum, fast food workers who got a raise to a minimum of $20 in April, are seeking an inflationary bump for next year. In Los Angeles, hotel and airport workers are demanding a $25 minimum wage and a raise to $30 in time for the 2028 Olympics. Well, that's one way to do it. Is I can only see it now. Give us $30 right before the Olympics, or we'll all go on strike right before the Olympics because they're all part of the union. I can see it now. I can see the headlines now. This year in the
Although they
legislature,
also started accepting applications, I guess. I don't know if they're officially open, but they're talking about now you can volunteer with the Olympics, and I believe they're going to like 30,000 ish, maybe 45,000 volunteers who will. Now I get that. Okay, sorry, it's fly. I get that like a volunteer isn't going to go work at the McDonald's down the street from the Olympics. I understand that, but these people are like demanding this, pay us more while they're about to have probably a few 100,000 volunteers willing to do a lot of work, which will include like at these hotels and the hospitalities and checking in people and like, kind of making sure everything is flowing. And so that's interesting to me. I was just reading about that today. And so I was like thinking, oh, these people are demanding $30 right before the Olympics, but yet they're going to open it for tens of thousands of volunteers. So that's kind of interesting to me because it's like, oh, we can get someone to almost do your job for free, at least in the hospitality environment.
yeah, it's they're gonna make money on all of the poor volunteers who just want to be a part of the Olympics, and then everybody who will blackmail LA into paying them for working at the Olympics. So
I have a question because the fast food just went up to $18 an hour, earlier this year.
$20.
20.
Right.
Okay. So are they now going to demand more because now they're going to be lower? And there was the argument for, I forget, was something about their working conditions or something like that. And therefore they deserve more. And so if now they're going to be lower than these other industries, are we going to see that? Like, okay, so now it's going to be $29 an hour to work at a fast food place because minimum wage is 25. I know that this is not pushing for 25, but this is what people are pushing for.
Yeah, this is what the restaurants are already asking.
Which is going to be.
So they are admitting implicitly that between April, which is when this law went into effect, and now, which is 4.5 months, that inflation has risen that much that they need to get a bump to $25 an hour. But I thought Biden cured inflation. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong,
right.
But I thought Kamala and Biden fixed inflation.
They did.
But they still need inflationary
They left California
bumpers
behind. I mean,
right.
We're just over here fending for ourselves.
Kamala, who's from California, or was not from California, but lived in California, was a politician. She just forgot about California. She cured inflation everywhere. It's kind of like gas prices. Somehow, all the oil companies only gouge California, not everybody else in the country. Weird how that happens.
So I'm not making jokes, but like this passes, and then the fast food workers are like, we want more money, and of course they're unionized now, right? So then the unions are going to go and fight for that, and then so in like 24 months, come 2026, we're paying $30 for a cheeseburger and fries at In-N-Out, and this is inflation.
Right.
This how do people not understand? How do our politicians not understand basic economics? It's very frustrating.
Probably because none of them have ever picked up an economics book in their life.
But didn't they have to like go to school?
Didn't they as a poli-sci major myself, we were never required to take any economics courses. So all those poli-sci majors who ended up in legislative offices, campaign offices, never took an economics course. I can tell you firsthand. None of them understand what economics is. So I think it should be required reading if you're going to go into politics.
Well, it's required at high school, and I assumed it was a part of general ed in college. Me, who dropped out, doesn't know these things.
Was it part? I don't remember. I don't think there was an economics course that was required for us. It wasn't like our general ed education.
Sorry, that's getting off topic, but I just.
But yeah, From my experience, poli-sci majors, we never took an economics course. I think it was offered, but a lot of people don't take it. Let's see. The article goes on to say the most powerful proponent, the California Labor Federation, which represents 2.3 million union members, isn't yet sure how much effort it's going to put toward passing the measure. While the Federation was not involved in qualifying the measure, it endorsed it in July and plans to include it on other statewide campaign materials. Quote, I just don't know how much opposition there will be, quite honestly, said Labor Federation President Lorena Gonzalez. Gonzalez sees the ballot measure as a, quote, way to move things forward, end quote, at a time lawmakers are unlikely to take up the minimum wage. Quote, when we jumped to $15 and did it legislatively, that was really profound, end quote, she said. But $18 today? Sure, it makes a difference, she said, but it's not really a living wage. Okay?
Correct.
That's not the point of a minimum wage, to be a living wage. So, but she conflates all that stuff, what a living wage and a minimum wage is. Again, this is where, and again, not to get really off on economics, but I mean, if there are different fast food, and we're going to keep using the fast food example. If there are different fast food places where you can choose to go and start working, and In-N-Out starts you, I remember In-N-Out used to start you like $10 an hour when I was in college. And that was like, wow, $10 an hour, you got paid, double digits. That's incredible. But then there were other fast food restaurants that only paid you $7 an hour. And if you had your choice and you could apply to one of them and you wanted to work for one of them, wouldn't it behoove the businesses to try and attract the best talent by being competitive with their wages? And by, that's sort of the point, I guess their argument for a minimum wage is that it at least creates a floor that you can't go below, but at least you can go higher than it and you can be competitive and try and attract some of the best talent. And I think it worked for In-N-Out. I mean, their staff is always super friendly. They're always helpful. They're working their butts off. So that seemed to work to me. Like there was a discrepancy between the quality you're getting at In-N-Out versus McDonald's. Same thing with Chick-fil-A. I imagine they pay Chick-fil-A better and they, their staff is much more helpful and nicer. But I think the bigger argument here about minimum wage that most people don't even think about is that it does chop off the ladder at the bottom where people can enter into the workforce, right? Like now, I think we talked about on this podcast how like your daughter wanted to go work somewhere, but it's like it's hard to get a fast food job.
She stopped trying.
She stopped trying because
I'm like, you're 16, calm. It's okay. Like it's not.
I mean, good on her that she wanted to get a job and make money, but it's just it cuts off people who want to enter the workforce as like their first job, or someone who just needs a job to like make ends meet. Like it chops off that ladder at the bottom and hurts the people that they think that they're helping when you do a minimum wage. So, and it also takes away the ability for people to barter for how much they want to be paid.
Well, right. And so what she was told, which we talked about, is like, I'm sorry, we're not hiring anyone under 18. We're letting people go. And we're cutting back hours. So when you have somebody who maybe doesn't have a lot of qualifications and they're working at a fast food place, McDonald's, whatever, but maybe they're working 40 hours a week and get benefits. Now their hours are cut and they no longer qualify for benefits because they're not a full-time employee.
Right.
So we've said, like, congratulations on your raise. Sorry about your job loss. Sorry about that you don't have benefits anymore. I'm sorry that your sick child, you can't afford their medication anymore.
Yeah, because we cut your hours because it's too expensive. And you may have relied on it every month and said, okay, this is how much I get paid every month. But now they're cutting hours, which I pulled an article from Econ, but this is probably from someone else. I can't imagine it's from MoneyWise. It says, we cut where we can. California restaurants cut staff hours due to the minimum wage hike. Is the new hourly wage really helping restaurant workers? Lawrence Cheng and his family own 7 Wendy's locations south of Los Angeles, but this busy summer season, he has fewer staff clocking in to help him. Cheng told the Associated Press he's been cutting his staff's hours due to the increase in California's minimum wage for fast food workers, which jumped from $16 to $20 per hour. We just kind of cut where we can. I schedule one less person, then I come in for that time that I didn't schedule, and I work that hour. Let's see. Juan Carlos Chacon, a owner of 9 Jersey Mikes in Los Angeles, who says the labor accounts for about 35% of his total cost. With the minimum wage hike, he's not only cut staff, but also passed some of the additional labor costs onto his customers. I've been in the business for 25 years, and I've never had to increase the amount of pricing that I did in the past. I did this past time in April. California soft serve chain Foster's Freeze had to close one of its stores because it couldn't afford to pay workers after the increase. We would have rather stayed at the wage that we did before just because now we don't have a job, says one employee. I was Monica Navarro, former assistant general manager at the Foster Freeze location. So again, yeah, it's not really necessarily helping if you're cutting people's hours or they're just getting straight up fired. Like that's not really helping anybody there, Lorena Gonzalez, but I'm sure you'll use it to grow your union membership. Hey, thanks for checking out the California Underground podcast. If you enjoyed that clip, make sure you subscribe, like, share, review, comment, all that stuff that helps with the algorithm, helps people find us more. And if you want to learn more, you can always listen to our full podcast at Apple, Spotify, Google, all those different places that you basically find podcasts. Or if you just want to keep watching clips, you can check out clips here, or you can subscribe to our channel right here, somewhere in here.